So let's bring in Karl Rove, former Deputy Chief of Staff to President George W. Bush, American Crossroads co-founder and advisor, and Fox News contributor, and Mark Penn, former Clinton advisor and pollster, now chairman and CEO of Stagwell Incorporated. Great to have both of you with us today. First of all, Karl, can you address that with regard to whether or not President Bush accidentally took classified documents from the White House to a residence?
Yeah, I'm not aware of that.
I'm not either.
I'd be interested in seeing Representative Comer's research on that. But look, there is a difference between that, an accidental taking of a document, which I don't believe occurred, and what we've now seen, which is Vice President Biden left the White House with somewhere about several dozen classified documents that ended up either at his Penn Biden office or at his home or in his garage. And President Trump took several hundred, as many as 300 documents deliberately as part of a larger collection of White House documents and knowingly bundled them up and sent them down to Mar-a-Lago. These are two different things than accidentally taking a document here or there. I'm not going to dispute Representative Comer, but I'm not aware of anything what he indicated.
Okay. Mark Penn, good to have you here today. One of the issues that is cropping up is political and how this is being looked at and whether or not Democrats are seeing this potentially as an opportunity to rethink 2024. This is a quote from Michael Goodman's piece in the New York Post today. He says, "Then came Saturday's finding, which proves the president was serially sloppy with America's secrets. The result is that Trump now looks like a lucky man, while Biden looks like a man whose luck has run out." What do you say to that?
Well, I think the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, created a political and legal nightmare here by going after former President Trump. He never should have done that in the first place. Now he's stuck with also doing this with President Biden. Look, these laws were never meant to ensnarl our presidents and vice presidents. They were meant to go after spies and bad people and people selling, secrets for money. And instead we have two, putative presidential nominees and candidates, right, under independent counsel investigation, when also I think with President Biden, look, he's got real questions about both the Penn Biden Center and the influence business run by his son and brother that have to be answered if he's going to move forward as a presidential candidate. I think the classified documents are a sideshow. I think, however, the questions about his business dealings are not.
Very interesting. So that, I think that's one of the questions here, Karl, politically. Does this story lead to more with regard to the Chinese influence and influence peddling potential that Mark just raised? This is Joe Scarborough this morning, and this is sort of the changing tone that we're hearing. Just a month or so ago, right after the midterms, President Biden could do no wrong. This is from this morning.
By stumbling and bumbling around, by not getting their timeline right, by still saying we just showed a graph that says an unknown number of documents found in Biden's garage. No more unknown. At this stage, we're 2 months in. They need to clean this up. They need to get, amateur hour is over.
Do you see a shift, Karl, in the way that this president is being covered?
Oh, absolutely, and for good reason. I mean, think about it. We had the first group of documents were discovered before the midterm, and they sat on it. They didn't come out and say, "Oh, we found these." They waited until months afterwards. The White House has mishandled this virtually every step of the way, and I think it is a representative of two things. I think it is representative of their recognition that the president is vulnerable on this issue, that it puts him on, like it or not, whether it's fair or not, it puts him on an equal standing with Donald Trump and his problems with classified documents. And second of all, it shows how inept this group really is. The Democrats, I've felt for more than a year, that the Democrats are not going to nominate an 82-year-old who's already having difficulty in the job, and this simply shows he's got more difficulties than we've been watching over the last year.
Mark, quick question, because I got to go, but if you will, who do you think? You heard Chris Christie at the top of this. He wants to know who made the call to sit on this information that documents had been found before the election. Who made that call? And he posits that maybe it was Ron Klain, likely, maybe chief of staff.
a decision as important as what to do about that would have to be made at that level. I would be surprised if the White House were running without that. Look, this happens just a few days before the election. Do you expect the White House is going to disclose it and possibly have adverse effects of the election? Of course they weren't, and they didn't.
I don't know that any White House would make a different choice on that. Doesn't make it right, but the politics come into play for sure, and we'll see what the impact of that is on them ultimately. Mark Penn and Karl Rove, thank you, gentlemen. Great to see you both.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.